morning, and it's a beautiful morning in New York City, and the jackhammers, I don't know if they're above or below me because we're building a school next door. However, they're relentless today. So, in spite of that, I'll speak loudly, though I'm not carrying any sticks, and we'll get into real politics. And maybe it is appropriate. We're going to drill down and drill deep. Remember how I always euphemistically stated, if you want to save your life this year, you gotta vote Democrat, and you all gotta vote. Well, it's not euphemistic anymore. Harvard, Syracuse, University of Texas, Commonwealth of Virginia, and Western Ontario have all completed a study, a published factual study that states if you live in a Republican-controlled state, guess what? Your mortality is going down. So, what does that mean? And not only is it going down, it's decreasing so much more. I always eschewed saying blue states or red states. Well, there's a predominance in this country of red states. In the blue states, where we care about gun safety, where we care about the environment, where we try to enact better wages and conditions for folks, where we care about education and health, and we always have expanded Medicaid, we're actually saving 171,000 more lives. In those red states, the Republican states, they're actually losing 219,000 extra lives. Remember Angus Deaton when he came out with his book on equality? He stated years ago, we're losing people to deaths of despair, about 100,000. And we're losing people to depression, misery, suicide, opioids, maybe another 100,000. Well, it's all quantifiable, folks. It's in those Republican states. Sure, the GOP is going around now and saying, oh, well, they're really tough on crime. Yeah, they just had a mass shooting in St. Louis. Don't tell me you're tough on crime. What we do here in New York is we report every crime. So every day you see a couple of folks who have been hit or may die because of a gunshot wound. But our crime statistics are not high, not where we're taking massive amounts of lives in a city that's over 10 million. So, no siree. You can't get in and out of our schools so easily. We do have metal detectors. We do have only one entrance and exit into those schools. Not like the sprawling megalopolis of schools that are taught the Texan way throughout most of the South. So we've got 20% illiteracy, and I wonder if we did a study on that, where we would find the demographics. We got a problem, all right, and it's a Republican problem. They left decent people behind. Sure, many folks are going to be pressing that lever reflexively for the Republican Party, because they've always done it. Or you might be a little dissatisfied with the pace of change in your county. Well, let me tell you two things. One, the Republican Party, and I'll say it again and again, stands for big business against we the people. It stands for states' rights. It stands for autocratic rights because Greg Abbott in Texas eschews his legislatures, and what he does is he makes executive orders so that nobody can contest them because he owns the judiciary. And that's how he's able to circumvent his own laws and be lawless. You think you're getting an equal break in Texas? I don't think so. I met a young woman from Houston who, if she had expanded Medicaid, could have gone to Houston Methodist Hospital for her cancer treatment. Instead, she was at the Koch Infusion Center attached to Cornell Weill. She couldn't afford her hometown cancer treatments. That's pretty sad, if you ask me. So don't tell me folks are on the fence between Beto O'Rourke and Greg Abbott. There should be no equivalency whatsoever. Beto O'Rourke stands with people, stands for people. And when you vote Democratic, do what I advocated in Virginia when they were kind of angry with Northam and with his cabinet because of indiscretions. And I said, look at what he's given you. He gave them expanded Medicaid. He gave them all kinds of services. I said, put his feet to the fire and say you want more. You're not happy with homelessness? You're not happy with inflation? You're not happy with the pace of job and wage security? Hey, make it a mandate. Elect the folks again to those Democratic positions and tell them this is what you want. You want a strong NLRB. You want a strong OSHA. You want expanded Medicaid in your state. You think you're going to get it with those Republicans? You're not. This is not the Republicanism that we knew, not even under Gingrich. It's evolved, and it's evolved badly. It's evolved because of their support of fossil fuels. ExxonMobil made $20 billion in profit this quarter. $20 billion, and they're subsidized besides by the American taxpayer. It's true. Apple may have made the same, but I don't know who in the world's subsidizing Apple technologies. But oil, they're subsidized. And if I was there, I would decrease their subsidies in a nanosecond. And I'd give it to renewable energy research and development and innovation. No sense all innovation being concentrated in the Department of Defense. We need to have that partnership with the private sector so that the private sector can be encouraged in their entrepreneurship. These old dinosaurs that we call corporations today, they need to be shook up. They need to be taxed. We want more revenue. FICA's a good way to go. Everyone collects Social Security. Everyone collects Medicare. We can do a couple of things. One, lower the rate to enter Medicare to 55, and then you've got so many more folks who don't have to worry about health care in this country. And two, lift that age for the deduction for FICA from $147,000 to zero limit. You want to make 31 million? God bless you. Make 31 million. But you're paying 7.65% into FICA, just like all the lower and middle class people are doing. There's a lot of ways to generate revenue in this country. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit, and we should be using it. Once again, I've put my mouth where my head is and where my mouth is. I'm making calls. I called for Detroit, and I did phone banking, and I did phone banking last night for Democrats in Detroit. I did it for RAC, Jews for Justice, and I made calls for Democratic representatives. I've given money to focus on democracy, again, to support senators, secretaries of states, and Supreme Court justices in battleground states. Too many of our states are Republican, and too many of our Republican states, in order to stay Republican, are harassing voters. Not actually touching them. No, they're not doing that. They just got folks stationed looking across the street, looking like paramilitary people who are there to intimidate those who want to go to the ballot box. Shame that that's how you can keep power, is by intimidating poor people. That's another thing. If it were up to me, voting would be 100% no excuse absentee ballots. You could mix it up with going to the ballot, to going to a polling site. But like my guys say here in New York, it takes them 5 hours. If it takes 5 hours to vote, guess what? We need a national holiday. A day where it's understood everyone's off. Sure, you're going to have absentee, no excuse, absentee ballots, but you're also going to have early voting, and the day the vote is due, a holiday. Getting 2 hours off for my men who work here in this building, it's not sufficient. Now, if I wanted to go to a polling station, I can't even claim that I'm elderly. Everyone there's elderly. So we're all standing on a line for an hour and a half waiting to go. I went absentee ballot. It's so much easier. Don't let them intimidate you. Vote. Take your friends to vote if you are intimidated. Make sure you're not alone. And if you've never voted before, 2022 is the right time to vote. Do it now and you'll do it forever. It gives you a certain sense of satisfaction to have that sticker afterwards that says, I voted, because your vote counts. Not just the big money, not just the corporate power. And again, when you talk about Republicans, they're quick to talk about who's really funding the Democrats. Well, they come up with one name all the time, George Soros. But who's funding the Republicans and who's keeping them in power? You can give you a list. Jones Day, the lawyers who now make up our Supreme Court, the owner of Uline, the owner of Overstock.com, the Mercers, Sade, who gave $1.2 billion, the Kochs, and so many more. I probably could name 10 on the Republican side, and several of them to make sure that Ron DeSantis and his cronies get into power again. They've actually even moved to Florida. Well, plus having no taxes, that's a big plus too. So Your life depends on it, folks, literally and figuratively. This year, you make it a point to vote and vote Democrat. And sorry for screaming, but I'm trying to get over the jackhammers. It's constant. I'm hoping I'm going to get out of here pretty soon. Or I'll have to wear headphones that take away noise. So, God bless you. See you next week. And then we vote. It's only 2 weeks left. Let's do what's right for ourselves and what's right for the country. And let's give democracy a chance. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye now. I'll see you next week for sure.